This video is personal. Some days you feel like quitting, like nothing is working. And no matter how hard you try, you feel stuck. I've been there more than once. I've built 3 businesses and all of them had moments that made me question everything. 6 months, 18 months, 11 months of no money coming in, but I kept going. And if you're struggling today, I want to show you why you should keep pushing too. Because I promise you, this is part of the process. Most people quit, but not you, not today. Some own stories today. This video is very personal to me. I know we all go through tough times in life. We struggle to get the results we want. Today's video is about 2 parts. First, I'm going to share 3 personal stories and lessons with you. And then in the second part, I'm going to share some of my principles that I can lean back on that keep me going on a daily basis. If we really get to the bottom of it, it's about 3 things. We start the right actions. We never stop. But the real question is, how do we do it? I'm not doing this to get any sympathy points, to share these struggles with you, or try to get any bragging rights. That's not the point. But what I do know is that we all go through tough times, and maybe my stories will help some of you. So that's really my motive for recording today's video. So welcome back. These stories are tied to my full-time businesses, and there are 3 of them so far in my life. I wanted to share these stories, like I mentioned, just to make sure that you guys are fully comfortable, understand where I come from, so that you can maybe learn from these and understand that every single person, no matter what the results are going through these tough times. We are no different. If you want to achieve something exceptional in life, whether it's getting your personal health in order or launch that business, change jobs, leave a bad relationship, you're going to go through tough times. So the only reason for us to stay in that game is that deep motivation in the end. We have to find that, make sure that we have the right reasons to keep going. Understanding that it's going to get tough is the starting point. Let's get right to it. My first business here, I labeled it under knew nothing or no one. When I left corporate way back, I launched a real estate business. I was in California in the United States, and I knew nothing. I knew no one or anybody in that industry. I just had deep passion. I wanted to start doing real estate full time. Okay, so what did I do? It took me 6 months in this first business to start making any money. I gave myself 12 months. I started calling people. I knew that I had to find my little niche that would separate me from the rest of the pack, meaning my competition. I hired a real estate agent because real estate is a very agent-dominant business, so you have to know the right people. And I told this person that, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I have never done this before, but I know I'm going to make it at some point. The only question is when that's going to happen. This person that I hired, who worked with me as a buyer's agent, was there with me the first couple of months. Then he quit. Why? Because he said that, I don't believe this is going to work. I don't think you have what it takes. I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to do? Get another guy. And the second person who came along, who came on board, was asking me the same question. What's your niche? What's your competitive advantage? And I told him this. It's very simple. I make good promises and I keep them all. And he looked at me, really? I said, yes. That sounds awfully simple. I said, yeah, it has to be simple in order for it to be successful. I started making offers. I drove properties, analyzed them for listing agents for free, analyzed every single transaction in those zip codes, in those postal codes that were of my interest. And ultimately, I built this huge database of properties, transactions. So I had a very clear picture in the end as far as what the purchase price had to be, how much my rehab cost, and then what ultimately the sales price was going to be. So that gave me all the information I needed. So I armed myself with all the knowledge possible. Then after analyzing every property, I drove them and I took notes and I saw what other investors did. So I believe in my head, I had a formula as far as how to be successful. And then I knew it was just about being patient. It was a waiting game at that point. What happened to the second agent? He quit too. It took way too long for him. But deep down in my mind, I had given myself 12 months to be successful and start making money. And after 6 months of relentless work, being obsessed, doing nothing but that, I got my first deal and started making money. But to me, that just illustrates how people think. Those very first agents, the number 1 and number 2 guy, they couldn't handle it, meaning the uncertainty. Nobody giving them that instant reward, instant feedback about what hard really feels like, because they were expecting results right away. Am I any better than these people? No, I'm just different, that I knew from the get-go that it's gonna get hard. I was super realistic about what it takes to get those results. So this to me was not knowing anybody, entering a new industry, and just understanding that you have to nail down the basics really well in order to get some results. What about the second business? I labeled that under scale up, meaning ramping up my operations. This was when I did my second full-blown reset, meaning started from zero. So I had to shut down my companies in the US when we moved back to Europe as a family. And at that point, I was thinking about, okay, what should I be doing? And since real estate was my passion, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do the exact same, but times 5 in Finland. So I wanted to not just do single family 1-by-1 flips. I wanted to graduate into new construction, do larger projects. So my first step was to acquire a large piece of land that I wanted to develop some townhouses on. And then simultaneously, I acquired these historic large renovation projects that required a lot of attention from me as well. So I wanted to graduate into the big leagues, so to say. I had to sell some of my investments in the US to finance the purchase in the beginning. And it took me actually, let's write it here, it took me 18 months of real struggle to make any money. It was a long time. And at my lowest point, I was hit with this large tax bill in Europe because I had to sell some of my investments in the US to finance my living, my operations, and my land acquisitions. And that was a complete blow just from nowhere. It was, if I remember right, 85 to 90,000 of extra taxes that I had to pay. And at that point, I didn't have any money reserved for that type of a nasty surprise. So that really was a test platform for me as far as how long I can keep pushing. And at my lowest point, when I really got hit with that tax bill, I just had to keep going one day at a time. But eventually, like the first business here, I knew that if I just kept grinding, I would eventually make it. And by making it, I mean I would start making money if I just focus on one day at a time. But this was really probably the hardest reset for me in terms of financials, personal financials, because I really had to put a lot of my personal money into that business without any certainty as far as how well it was going to do in the end. Then what about the third one? This is my third full-time business, and it's this business coaching program that I've launched 11 months ago. So I put it under global versus local. What does that mean? So both of these have been very local businesses. So just to give you an idea about the competition I was facing in the US when I was bidding on those fix and flips with other investors. Maybe there were, at the worst times, there were maybe 40 or 50 other investors. Here in Europe, the same thing. There was just local people that were developing land and properties and fixing and flipping and doing whatever in real estate. But this thing here, when I'm on YouTube, you can only imagine providing content, making content in English. The whole world is basically able to do that. So the barrier to enter this business is extremely low. You need a tripod and a phone and a whiteboard and a couple of markers. So literally the investment, the upfront investment is close to zero. There are plenty of people, I don't know, 1 billion or 2 who can speak English, maybe more, on this planet. So now I have launched myself as a coach to other entrepreneurs and business people and trying to help them. You can only imagine how hard you have to grind and how long it takes to establish yourself. The only principle I can use, again, is the same thing. If I just keep going, the only unknown is when I will get there. If I want to reach that top 5 or even top 1% of people making name for themselves, building their personal brand in this business, it might take me a year, 5 or 10 or 15 years. I think eventually I'll get there. Of course, I need to get better. I need to widen my audience and get people more behind this movement of my brand, so to say. But as I said, the only unknown is really when, not if. Because I believe that if I can get better day after day, I'll eventually get there. The question is then, if my goals changed along the way, maybe at year 5, I decide to do something else, or maybe I'm okay being a top 10% provider. But global versus local, that's what I mean. And again, a new industry where I have to face new challenges. Regarding this, today is Tuesday morning. I'm recording this video. Yesterday I was supposed to do this. I had a really bad day. I didn't feel like doing anything. Of course, I had to do all of my normal stuff and deal with the clients, but I didn't really feel like recording anything. I couldn't get anything out of my mouth. So there are days when I'm like, still have to struggle with the ramp down of my previous business, pay some bills there. As I have mentioned, I'm losing money there to not make any money here. And this so far has been 11 months. I'm not making any profit. I'm bringing some money in, but it's not enough to break even. I don't know how long this is going to take. It's going to be, I don't know, a year and a half or 2. But like I said, I'm willing to see how long it takes, because eventually I'll get there. But we all have tough days. That's normal. That's just the way it works. So just gotta keep grinding. So that was the first part of the video, those personal lessons and learnings. Now to the second part, which is my principles that I can lean back on that keep me on the right track. So number 1, lean into pain. What does that mean? Get comfortable with the uncomfortable and focus on actions, and the right feelings will follow. Let me try to explain. They're all under the same bucket, pretty much. Lean into pain. Most people have really hard time, or I would say impossible time, to understand that what feels bad today might actually be the best thing ever in our life. It's like this hot fire somewhere burning. What do people normally do? We stay away from it. The closer you get, the more it burns. So automatically we connect our actions to those feelings the same way, meaning that, okay, this feels bad. It must be really, really bad for me. So I stay away from those feelings. I've used this example 15 million times on my channel. Imagine hiring a personal trainer who tells you to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go for a run. And that's the first time you ever do it. How do you feel? It's cold and dark outside. You want to stay in bed where it's comfortable and warm. But what happens if you go for a run? You come back, you feel like $1 million. That's exactly what we are talking about. So ignore those feelings, take action no matter what, and understand that what feels bad might actually be the best thing ever for you. How does this apply to my life? So I just shared that 18-month story about just losing money, putting all of my savings into my business without having any guarantees or certainty about what's going to happen tomorrow, what's around the corner. The same exact thing. You do the hard things. You do what feels scary, and the right feelings will follow when you take the right actions. And that takes me to the second point. Nothing is forever. So on your hardest days, when nothing is going for you, you're like, damn, this is just not gonna work. Should I quit? That's when you keep pushing, because you understand that whether it's good or bad, nothing is forever. Today, my feelings are the worst. It might be that tomorrow is a better day. If I just keep marketing, I keep making these videos, I help people, I reach out, I provide value, something good is gonna happen. You never know who's gonna contact you tomorrow, but if you quit, you never find out. And that's why that regret at the end of the day is the thing that I avoid at all costs, because I want to find out how good I truly am. And if I quit halfway through, there's no way finding out. And I would never, ever forgive myself when I'm 90 if I didn't really test myself, put myself through that grind and really find out. Number 3, focus on what I can control. Again, one of my favorite topics. So focus on inputs, not the outputs. The only thing you can do on a daily basis is to take the right actions. Identify what those winning actions are. If you don't know what they are, talk to somebody who's been there. You go from point A to point B, you only talk to those people who have been at point B, who have made all that money, who have launched that business. It's easiest to listen to those people who are closest to you, but they have not been there. If I want to launch a business, put together the best possible marketing plan, I'm not going to go and talk to any government employees. With all due respect, they are not entrepreneurs, they are not business owners. I need to talk to somebody who's been there, somebody who's better than me. That's what it boils down to. So What I can do is I can only focus on my actions. And I trust that in the long enough time horizon, I always get what I deserve. If you're stuck today, you feel like nothing is going for you, you zoom out and you take a long enough time horizon. Instead of a day or week or month, you take 10 years. And this little bump in the road that you have today feels like nothing. But just have to zoom out and understand that nothing is forever, which was number 2. And then you only focus on those little winning actions and you disconnect yourself from the outcome. You don't think about what you achieve. You empty your tank today and that's your success. You ask yourself today, did I do my absolute best to get where I want to go? And if the answer is yes, that's the only thing you could have done. So if you're struggling right now, I need you to remember this. You're not alone. We all go through this. But success isn't about avoiding struggle. It's about pushing through it. If this video spoke to you, drop a comment below. I would like to hear back from you. And if you need more motivation, I'll share more on this topic in my other videos. Go check them out. But remember, quitting is not an option. I know you won't do it. Not today, not tomorrow, because you know that you have to push through it. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again in the next one.